Today I'm showing you how to make pumpkin spice oat muffins and cookies. Hi everyone, I'm Tami. I am the creator of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook. And this is where I teach people how to make delicious food that is whole food, plant-based. Also SOS free, which stands for salt, oil, and sugar. But don't worry, it all tastes fabulous. So today I want to share with you these pumpkin spice muffins. They're really simple, easy, delicious, and yes, they're even healthy. So let's get started. Let's talk about the dry ingredients first. So I use a variety of different dry ingredients just to make these very flavorful. And these are based off of my Quinoa Banana Oat Muffin mix, which I show you how to batch prep it in another video. And this is just a variation on that same theme. So what I start with, I just want to check my ingredients, is I have half a cup of quinoa flakes. This is the brand that I buy, and I will link to this down below in the show notes to my Amazon store where I have these, and that's where I purchase them. If you don't have quinoa flakes, you can take half a cup of dry quinoa, but it needs to be pre-washed quinoa. It needs to be dry and pre-washed. The one that I buy at Costco is pre-washed, and you can just blend that in the blender yourself. And I just start with half a cup dry, blend it, and then you can use that. If you don't have it right now, but you want to make these muffins, just use another half cup of oats, and that will be fine too. So this is a half a cup of the quinoa flakes, and these are just rolled and dried, just like the rolled oats that we're also going to use. And then we have some golden flax meal. And this is the brand that I buy. I buy this at Costco, and you can also get it on Amazon, and we can link to that. I like to use the golden just because it's more mild in flavor than the dark flaxseed. And it adds some omega 3s. It has good nutrition in it, and I'm just trying to make these very nutritional. Then I'm also using some quick cooking steel cut oats. I also buy these at Costco, but I have been to Whole Foods. They sell them. I was at Trader Joe's the other day. They also have quick cooking steel cut oats. If you don't have the quick cooking, all you have to do is take regular steel cut oats and put them in your food processor and just chop them up a little bit more. That's the only difference between these and the regular steel cut oats. So we're going to put these in. And don't worry about the quantities. I do have the recipe. I'll give you a link. It'll be on the blog, and it'll be a printable recipe for you. And then these are just regular rolled oats. They might say old-fashioned oats or rolled oats. Now, can you make these all with just rolled oats? You sure can. And I did try them as my Quinoa Banana Oat Muffins, and it works. They taste good. The texture is a little bit different because using the combination of the different oats and the quinoa and the flax just results in a little bit of a different texture for you. Then I also have pumpkin pie spice. So my favorite pumpkin pie spice is from Local Spicery, and it's just delicious. It is a combination of cassia, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, allspice, and star anise. And it is organic, and this is delicious. It's my favorite one, but use whatever pumpkin pie spice that you have. And I also have half a teaspoon of vanilla powder. And the vanilla powder just adds another layer of sweetness to this. So we're just going to stir this up and just combine it a little bit. And then we're going to move on to our wet ingredients. Okay, so these are not traditional muffins, of course, because we're making them without any animal products. We're making them with bananas. Now, bananas are going to vary in their sweetness depending on how many spots you let them get on the outside. We want them to be very sweet because we're not adding sugar here, but we are going to be using some dates. And so I like my bananas to get really spotty. The more spotted they are on the outside, the more sugar concentration they have, and the sweeter the muffin will be. So I weigh this out. This is 14 ounces of very sweet, ripe banana, or if you don't have a food scale, if you mash them and measure them, it's about 1 3/4 of a cup. Now, if you wanted to, you could put all of the wet ingredients into a bowl, and you could use a potato masher or a fork to mash the bananas. I just like to let the blender do that work for me. So I'm going to put my bananas in there. For sweetness, we're using some dates also in addition to the bananas, and I like the medjool dates. These are California organic medjool, and they're very sweet, and as you can see, they're large. They're also pretty soft. So if yours are a little more on the hard or dry side, you can put them in a bowl and just cover it with boiling water and let them soak for about 15 to 30 minutes, and that will just help the blender to blend them up. You want to make sure you take the pits out, you guys, because if you don't, you're going to give that blender quite a problem, and you don't want the pits ground up in what you're eating. So if I have 6 dates in here, and so I counted out to make sure I had 6 pits. Guess what? One of these did not have a pit. Isn't that weird? I've never had that happen. But anyway, you decide how many you want to use. If you have date paste, you could use date paste instead, and I would probably use about half a cup of date paste. So this is an extra date. We're just going to put it over there. Then we also want just some organic canned pumpkin. And this is sold everywhere. Sprouts, Trader Joe's has their brand, Whole Foods carries it. I was even at Costco the other day, and they had organic Libby canned pumpkin for a very good price. We are going to use the whole can, and this is pumpkin puree. This is not pumpkin pie filling. You want to make sure that you don't get pumpkin pie filling because it's full of sugar. So we're going to just put the whole can in here. Now, I made some muffins earlier today with this recipe, and I had the Trader Joe's canned pumpkin, and it was a lot drier than this can of pumpkin. It was almost solid, and it didn't come out liquidy like this. So I may have to adjust the amount of oats that I have depending on how wet this ends up being. Then we're also going to use some unsweetened applesauce. This is organic unsweetened applesauce from Trader Joe's, but you can get this everywhere. Even like a regular grocery store like Safeway has organic unsweetened applesauce, or you can make your own. If you have a Vitamix or a Blendtec blender, you can just put fresh apples in there and you can make your own applesauce in just minutes. Now I'm also going to show you a neat little gadget that I have. This is called the jar key, and I will link to it in the show notes to our Amazon store for it. And one of our viewers tipped me off about this last year and said, if you don't have the jar key to help you open up stubborn jars, you need to get one. She was so right. I wish I could remember who told us about it, but Tom and I love this. It's hard sometimes to get the lid off by yourself. Sometimes Tom will hold, I'll hold the bottom and Tom will twist the top, but if you have one of these, you can open it even if you're home by yourself. So it helps just to break the vacuum on the lid. So you hear that? And that broke the vacuum, and it just makes it so much easier to get the lid off. Voila, I did it. And so I am going to use a half a cup. I'm almost thinking that I might not even need the applesauce because of how runny that pumpkin is, but I am going to go ahead and use it. We'll just set this off to the side because I do like the flavor that the applesauce adds, and we can always add more oats if we need to. Then I'm just going to put the lid on. And when we start out, we want to start low. Okay, that's pretty easy. Since I'm using the dates, I really need to use the blender in order to get those blended up really nice and well incorporated into the rest of the liquid ingredients. So you can see here what that looks like. And so now I'm just going to combine that with the dry ingredients. Now, when we're cooking like this with using things like bananas that are a little unpredictable, we don't know, just like some bananas are more dry than others, some are more wet, then sometimes we have to adjust the dry ingredients. So it's not as clear cut as traditional baking, where you know exactly the combination of measurements that you're going to use to have it turn out right. But also, these recipes are pretty forgiving. And so even if you mess up, or even if your bananas are more wet or more dry, things still turn out pretty well. If you don't have one of these blender spatulas, I highly recommend you get one, because it makes it so much easier to get everything out of there. I'm also adding half a cup of organic golden raisins. I just really like the flavor of the golden raisins, but you could use any kind of raisins. The regular Thomas raisins, those would be perfectly fine in here as well. And then we're just gonna start stirring. And it's looking to me like it's gonna be pretty moist. And I am going to add some extra oats. Just because that canned pumpkin was really runny, and the other canned pumpkin that I have used has not been as runny. Now, I could probably leave it just like this, and it would probably turn out okay, but I would probably have to bake it longer. And I would just prefer to add some extra oats. And I had a little bowl, here they are, of oats out here. This is for just in case. And so I'm going to start with half a cup and see. But see, when you're using plants, pumpkin, bananas, you just don't know how wet and dry things are going to be. And whoops, another half cup just to absorb some of that. Just washed my counter before we started, so it's fine. And this just means I'll get, you know, extra muffins. Or I'm also going to show you how I make some cookies, and I'm going to show you how I get those, how I make those as well. And that came about because I was making the muffins one time, and because I had to add more dry ingredients to it, then I was able to get more muffins than a dozen. And I thought, oh, instead of making these all into muffins, I think I'll make some kind of like cookies. And they turned out great. Okay, so this is a silicone muffin pan. And what I love about it is we're doing fat-free baking, and so I'm not going to use any oil or butter or any spray on my muffins. So I either would use the silicone muffin trays, or if I have just standard muffin trays, then I would take I like the parchment cupcake liners to put in there, and that they almost are like non-stick. And so just like parchment paper when you line a baking sheet is almost like having a non-stick baking sheet, it's the same if you buy the cupcake liners that are made from parchment. And I can link to those as well. Now I have a lot of these silicone spatulas, and they are my absolute favorite because they can withstand the heat as well as just working for regular items. So you'll see I'm using a half cup measure, and I'm making it a little bit rounded. And we're going to just fill these muffin cups, and then I like to use it just to press them down, because I did not use any leavening agent in this recipe. And so however these go in the oven is how they are going to come out. I like to just make sure that they look pretty nice when they're going in the oven, because I want to have nice looking muffins when they come out. And this is gonna make your house smell amazing. I mean, oh, just pumpkin is such a fun part of fall, and just the warm spices. Now, if you don't have pumpkin pie spice, just Google it online and you can find recipes for making your own pumpkin pie spice, probably with ingredients that you already have in your spice cabinet. Okay, we're coming to the end here. So I'm actually only going to make 6 of the muffins. The great thing about the silicone muffin cups is everything comes out of them so easily. The trick is you want to let the muffins cool in them before you try to take them out. That is the trick. In fact, when I first got the silicone baking cups, the muffin cups, and I got like an 8-inch cake pan and a pie plate, I didn't really like them, but what I didn't know is that I needed to let everything cool down before I tried to take them out. And once I learned that, it just, oh, it worked so good. Now I love them. I use them all the time. Okay, so the muffins are ready to go in the oven, 350 degrees, preheated for 30 minutes. That's how long it takes in my Breville Smart Oven Air. I use the bake cycle and I do not set it on convection. I just do regular bake for 30 minutes. Your oven may run hotter or cooler than mine, so you might want to check them at 25 minutes and see how they're doing. But they work perfect in mine, 350 degrees for 30 minutes. So now I'm going to grab my cookie sheet and some parchment paper, and I'm going to show you how I make some pumpkin spice cookies. So I'm going to use this small scoop. It says that it's 2 ounce, and I'll link to it down below in the show notes. It's on my Amazon page, and it just really helps to make them consistent in size so that they'll cook at the same amount of time. And also I love the shape that it gives them. So we'll just put that out here. And I'm going to flatten these a little bit with the rubber spatula at the end. And this is a jelly roll pan that is going to go in the Breville Smart Oven Air, because it's a warm day here and I don't want to heat up my kitchen by running my big oven. And so this is a 10 by 15 pan. So you're going to end up, if you make them the same size as mine, you're going to end up with 13 of these and 6 muffins if you want to do it that way. Or you can make all muffins, or you could make it into all of these. So if you don't have one of those scoops, you can use a 1/3 cup measuring cup. That's about the same size that these are. And then I like to flatten them out a little bit. I just think they look good that way, and I think they cook more even because they're the same depth all the way across. If you don't want to use raisins in these, you could actually use some chocolate chips in them, and there is a sugar-free chocolate chip, and I'll link to it in the show notes. They're very good. They are dark chocolate, and so they are, because they have no sweetener in them, they are a little more on the bitter side, but I really like them. So if you're not used to having a lot of sugar in your diet, then they'll probably taste really good to you, because they taste really good to me. And it's just a nice way to have a little bit of chocolate. If you do nuts, you could add some walnuts or some pecans to these as well. That would also be tasty. Okay, so there we go. We've got that done. That little 13th one, or baker's dozen as they call it, will just be a little bit squished because it's tucked in there. Now, this is how it looks, and these will go in the preheated 350 degree oven for 25 minutes. I find that that works really well for these. Okay, we'll see you after they're done. Okay, so everything's out of the oven. It smells amazing in here. So we have the 6 pumpkin muffins, the pumpkin oat spice muffins, and we have the little pumpkin spice cookies, and they're so fun and delicious. I love how portable these are. You can take them with you on the run. You can put them in your backpack when you go on a hike. You can pack them in your kids' lunch. They're just really fun. I am so excited about these, even more excited about those than the muffins for some reason. But I guess we like little portions and think they're cute. But anyway, those great with a cup of hot tea, hot herbal tea. If you haven't tried the warm chai almond milk recipe that's on the blog, I'll link to that as well. That would be a nice addition to having one of these. The muffins and the little cookies freeze really well. These are so delicious, hot out of the oven or cold. You can warm them up in the microwave if you want to. You can make a little bit of pumpkin butter or pear butter or apple butter, or even just warm applesauce with a little bit of cinnamon spread on one of these when they're warm is super delicious and just really fun to eat. So thank you so much for joining me today. So if you haven't subscribed to the blog yet, go over to nutmegnotebook.com. It's free to subscribe, and once you subscribe, then you get on our mailing list, and Tom sends out a reminder on Sundays when we're doing a YouTube live so that you won't miss that. Or if we have something special going on, he'll notify you with that as well. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Click on the little bell icon. That's how you get notifications when we have a new video up. And thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Tami, and I help you get healthy and stay healthy, one meal at a time.